I just got back from Vegas 2 days ago, so we're not doing great. But today we are going to start fresh with a monthly reset on, you guessed it, Notion. March has traditionally been a very bad month for me. As a self-proclaimed overachiever who finds validation in accomplishments, January is typically the high month for me all year. I set goals, I'm excited to buckle down and get to work. Then comes February and, I'm chugging along, doing pretty well. But by March is when I typically run out of steam. By this point, I have probably been isolating myself a little bit, haven't been socializing much, traveling, doing those activities that typically like fill your cup. So usually this is where my annual spell of depression starts to creep in and I hibernate until June. So why am I telling you all this? Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So this year, in order to avoid falling into the same cycle of burnout, I'm going to be incorporating a few different strategies in how I plan out my month and prioritize my tasks and projects just to make sure that I'm taking care of myself and, I'm taking things slow and not trying to get overly ambitious and set myself back several months because of it. So just as a little background, I like to set up a new page in my alignment zone on my Notion system for every month. And when I first set it up at the beginning of the month, I will add a theme for how I feel like I want the month to go or what I'm focusing on. For this past month in February, I was focusing mostly on job hunting. That was my big priority. There's also just some little mini goals to guide me. So here we have stick to good habits, be present, continue making content, apply a lot. These are just all the things that I want to manifest for the month to come. And then at the end of every month is when I go through and fill everything else out, which is what we're doing now. So up here, we're just adding general accomplishments, wins for the month, things that didn't go so well. So starting with accomplishments, this month I did finish my very first online course, which went really well. If you're familiar with More to That, Lawrence does his own storytelling course, and storytelling is something I've been really interested in. So we're gonna say finished thinking in stories. This was also the first month that I made enough income online to actually cover rent, which I don't pay rent right now, but if I was still paying rent back in New York, I made enough that I would have been able to cover that. So I think that's pretty cool. Online income to cover rent. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. Wins for the month. So these are just positive things, may or may not have been something that I necessarily accomplished or contributed to. So one of the biggest themes of this month was getting my eyes fixed. I got Smile laser eye corrective surgery, and that actually went really well. So we're gonna call that a win. This was also the best month for my YouTube channel. I gained almost 2,000 subscribers, which is incredible. I would say I also posted consistently and had a couple TikToks do really well too. So just all around good month for content. And also say lots of callbacks for interviews. I think that's also a win. Had a lot of screens. Disappointments. So I don't think I actually had any significant disappointments worth recording here. Yeah, for the most part, it was a pretty solid month, I would say. There were a couple more lows or challenges I faced. Just job search going pretty slowly. I mean, it's moving along, but just not as quickly as it has in past years. I would also say a slight challenge was inconsistent energy just from being out a lot. I definitely had a lot of fun this month, but when you're out late or you're drinking or just socializing and you're an introvert and that drains your battery, I don't think my work was as consistent, even though it was still productive. So then down here, all of my weekly reviews are automatically connected because I'm connecting them as I do that every week. If I have any, small learnings or lessons, I'll put them here. I don't have anything right now. I might add something later. And then all the projects that I have linked to this month that I was working on, that's also here for review. And getting down into the main review area, you can actually open this and it'll show you all of the tasks you've completed for the entire month. I don't typically go over this. I might do it in my weekly review, but for monthly, it's a little bit a lot. But it's just nice to see, all the things you accomplish, because I think sometimes you can forget about it as the month goes on. And again, just making sure I reviewed all my accomplishments and disappointments. These are all just in a full database that I get to look at over time. to see trends. And I've gone through a couple different sets of like journaling questions and reflection questions every month, but I think these are the most simple while still having some reflective value. I think if I give myself too long a list of questions to answer, I'll end up procrastinating, never do it. I tend to just record any breakthroughs, any discoveries, activities that are worth mentioning, and any improvements or lessons moving forward. For breakthroughs, I think the biggest one here is really just getting over imposter syndrome when creating my own products. I hate asking people for money, so the fact that I was able to actually put out a digital product, do that successfully, was a huge breakthrough for me. Discoveries this month, Code Geass crushed it. A little bit overhyped, the writing was like a little clunky at times, but definitely got better over time, and the story just wrapped up in a really cool way. So if you watch anime, I do recommend it. As far as books go, I did read Strange Weather in Tokyo. Not a super popular author, so it's kind of cool to do something a little off beaten track. And guys, I'm on like 4 hours of sleep right now, so my brain isn't functioning fully. Oh my god, what was the name of the other book? Bunny. That was the one. Definitely highly recommend. The story on the surface is already crazy. There's so many layers to peel back on what's actually happening. I mean, I can't really describe it without giving it away. If you're someone who likes magical realism, like you're a Murakami fan, I would say Bunny would be a great one if you want to do something a little more fast-paced and a little darker. Strange Weather in Tokyo is actually also probably good if you're into his books too. It's a little more of the mundane atmosphere you get from his other books like Norwegian Wood. Activities this month. Yeah, usually my life is pretty boring, but there's a lot of stuff going on this month. So we started off with Emily was visiting, we had the Super Bowl, Ant-Man premiere. That was good, you should go watch it. Dinner at Gal was wild, and the entire weekend in Las Vegas. So improvements going forward, I don't feel like I prioritized working out a lot. I've been having trouble getting on a schedule. Also, because there were a lot of activities, there's a lot of eating out. I want to cook more at home, more job apps. Now that my course is done, I'm gonna have more time to do that. I think prioritize is actually the big one. I'm gonna drag this up here and bold it and highlight it. I am working on the things that need to be done, but at the same time, working out, eating at home, all these things I'm writing here, still socializing with people on occasion, still getting out and actually living my life. I need to do those things, otherwise the spiral will happen very quickly. Now this area down here, I use if I feel like I'm blocked or stuck, then I can ask myself all of these questions and it'll give me a little bit of an insight on how to best move forward or to take like one step in the direction that I want to go. So I follow the PPV system. I'm not gonna go into depth on what that is right now, but that's why you're seeing these like pillars, pipelines, categories. So first, I always try and go through and review all of my pillars. I call these hubs, and I just make sure that everything here is still relevant to my life. If there's anything that is more top of mind, I'll check it off. Something that I'm not as focused on, I'll uncheck it. And just make sure that everything is like connected and looks good. Habits and routines. I actually stole the system from Anna. I'll link her video down below for her yearly planning. I really like the way that she's approaching habits this year, which is to kind of phase them in. If you've ever read like Atomic Habits, you know that trying to start 20 different habits at once never works out, and that's always what I try to do at the beginning of the year. So right here is my main focused habit page where we have all the things that I'm currently doing, currently a habit, and then I'll have maybe like 2 or 3 that I'm working on each week. And once I feel like one can be moved into currently a habit status, then that's when I'll pull in another one to start working on, but I won't do it until, I feel like I really have it down. Otherwise, again, gonna get overwhelmed, and we're trying to avoid that. So right now, the habits that I'm currently working on are to exercise, meditate, and to draw. Those 3 are already pretty big time sinks as it is, so I'm not gonna add anything else right now, but just to kind of show you, these are the ones that I'm gonna be working on next after I get those done, and these are other ones that throughout the year, hopefully I can add these on at some point. I also like to review my daily tracking, and there's a 30-day averages tab here, which is pretty convenient, and it can show me exactly how the last month went in terms of just like stats and numbers. So we can see on average my diet was 3-5, which is slightly worse than I would want it to be. I was mostly sleeping around 12:30 a night, which was my goal, so that's pretty good. And then waking up around like 9, probably want to get that down to like 8:30, but on average, a little over 8 hours of sleep. I have my average weight here, and then how many times I was checking off like my 1 second a day, my day one entries. You can see like any improvements I've logged here, how often I've been doing my reviews. So it's good to make sure that I'm on track there. And then I also like to track how often I was posting on different social channels, just so from like a bird's eye view, I can see how consistent I've been. I posted a good amount, but it's still kind of spotty in consistency, and I want to be a little more consistent this next month. I haven't been really tracking all of my workouts on here like I should, so we're not going to review those today, but generally I have all of them here just to see what I did for the month. And then now going into the pipeline section, I like to review all of my goals, projects, action items, make sure everything is good to go. And for the most part, this doesn't usually take that long because I'm pretty diligent about my weekly reviews and making sure that everything is updated on a week-to-week basis. So usually, as long as I'm keeping up with those, my monthlies and my quarterlies are pretty quick when they come around. When I open up my goals, I can see my high-level goals, which are like 1 to 3 years in timeline. I usually don't update these, but it's just nice to review them and keep them top of mind. So I'm actually gonna go into my quarterly view because I find this a little easier to see not just like the month's goals, but the goals before and after the month too. For February, I did want to do some trademarking. I didn't get a chance to do that. We're gonna change this to March. Marketing swipe file, not a priority right now. Probably gonna put that in like April. Master thumbnails and titles. I've been kind of working on this, but it's not a focus right now, so I want to put this as March. Find a new job. Still working on that. We're gonna move that to the next month too. Reorganize Lightroom. I have like 4 years of photos I need to update. That's still gonna be through the next month. This YouTube audit was completed. Plan for 2023 completed. Brand identity, I'll be working on that this coming month. Moving back to New York. I don't know if that's gonna happen in March. Let's put that for like Q1 through Q2. And I'm also working on creating a course a little earlier than I expected originally, so we're gonna add that to March as well. Okay, no, I said I wasn't gonna overload myself, so I'm gonna take off some of these actually. I don't wanna do the newsletter this month. I think we'll continue to do that in Q2. So I think this is fine. We're gonna keep up with the job applications, do some branding, some decluttering. I think it's doable. Now we're also going through our key results page, updating numbers, checking off anything that was completed. So for books read, pretty far ahead in schedule on this. We're at 6 out of 24, quarter of the way through already. Let's see, for YouTube, we're actually up to around 6,000 subscribers and have not started my sketchbooks. I don't think I've done art pieces. Have I? I haven't done any traditional art pieces. I've done some like DIY crafting, but I think I want to reserve this just for actual art. My TikTok has actually grown quite a lot. I think we're at like 4,000 now. I'm not tracking my monthly views to my personal site right now. Freelance projects, I have some that might be in the works, but I haven't landed them yet, so we're gonna keep that at 0. My Instagram is at like 360. My target weight, I have lost 0. For combat culture, almost doubled our TikTok followers. Our Instagram, pretty much the same. Subscribers, I think we're at like 14K now. Moving up there slowly. Let's see, developed 10 rolls of film, have developed 0. Have you seen the price of film lately? I might not be able to finish that goal this year. Now back on our review page. Let's see, we updated all of our projects. And if I need to add any action items because of everything we just did, I can do that. I also like to review my someday maybe tasks. So if you're familiar with getting things done, you'll already know what a someday maybe list is. You know, sometimes there's things that you want to work on and you don't want to lose track of them, but you don't want to put on your calendar yet. Typically, if I have an action item that I keep moving from week to week for like 2 months straight, I know it's not a priority at the time and I'll move it to this list so I don't forget about it. So every month I like to just go through this and make sure there's nothing that I want to resurface. And then finally we move on to the vault section. So this is just like all of my information storage, and I'll go through and clear out like my desktop, my downloads folder, most of the time when I'm being good. I want to start cleaning up my iPhone photos and videos on a regular basis because I have tens of thousands of pieces of media on there. And if I just spent like 30 seconds every week taking care of it, I think it would be less overwhelming and I wouldn't be paying $10 a month for storage. I also like to transfer any of my 1 second a day clips just to make sure that they're kind of all organized. It makes the video making process at the end of the year a lot easier. The rest of this is all related to my field notes section. So if you're not familiar, this is kind of where I store like all my book notes, course notes, you know, just like tools, websites, things that I want to have on hand and filed away. I try to update this on a weekly basis or monthly basis. I tend to procrastinate a little bit, but under this process area, I have books from Readwise. So they're automatically imported into here along with my notes and my highlights, and I'll go through and add these to my actual book pages to make sure that those are all organized. And yeah, process any books. If I finish something, I put in the dates there. You can see I have a lot of articles that I have not processed yet, but I try to go through these, take out any quotes or highlights that I want to emphasize to make sure that it's like easier to review these in the future. And they all get connected to like my wiki pages, to other pages in my Notion, just so everything is linked and organized. And then I'll also go through to my Academy page. For reference, if you don't know, this is fake. I'm not actually in school. I just like to pretend I am for whatever reason. So all of my courses are here. You can say that this one is completed. This was another one I wanted to do, so that's just there for reference whenever I get around to it. Let's see, all these subjects are still the same. Reading list is all down here. And finally, I do like to go into Mint and update all of my expenses, make sure that I have a new budget in place based on like what I'm planning to spend. Thanks for planning with me today. I am manifesting an incredible month for all of you watching. And if you want to learn more about how I use Notion and how this review system fits into my overall system, then you can check out this video here.